Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. The Eagles are a frustrating team, right? We can all agree on that. Well, even though I'm going to miss the Birds today, I'm recording this Sunday morning. Even though I'm going to miss the Eagles today, I'm not going to miss the emotional roller coaster where my stomach is going up and down, and it's embarrassing, and it's annoying, and it's just irritating, and it's not fun. The Eagles have not been fun at all this season, so I'm somewhat weirdly looking forward to John Hanson, red zone, my black leather couch, hitting the side button so my feet pops up. I push back, maybe I get some guacamole and chips in there, a couple cold ones, Miller Lights, IPAs, you name it. The mini fridge is stocked. Maybe hit the weed pen. What? No, I would never do that. Enjoying a day where I don't need to be stressed because of my football team is where I'm at today, and it's normally not that way. Normally, I'm bothered that the Eagles are not playing on Sunday. Even when they play on Thursday night or Monday night, when Sunday rolls around, I'm not enjoying that moment if there's no, I was going to say Kelly green, but midnight green on my TV screen. Today's a little different, though. Today is a different vibe surrounding it. And that's what happens when your squad is 3-4-1 and has put you through misery. I don't even want to think about a Doug Peterson post-game presser or a day after presser. I don't want to think about his face right now. I don't want to think about Carson Wentz saying the words, I need to be better and things of that nature. Like, no. This week, I'm okay with this scenario. This week, I'm okay with the bye week. And what type of fan is really okay with the bye week? Well, when your football team's playing well, no fan. No fan when your team's playing well, but when they give you this disgrace, I think just as much as the players needs it, the fans need it. The players like, wow, my body hurts, I'm emotionally fried. You know what? Hey, look over here. Me too. Me too. So instead of watching them, we'll talk about them. And just a couple days ago, I gave my grades for all of the offensive players. It's time to dive into the defense. And the defense was a little bit more interesting. And once again, we are going to start with the Fs because I want to end on a positive note. So we're going to start with the Fs, go to the Ds, Cs, Bs, and then end with the As, because if we go with the other way, I'm ending with the Fs, and then I'm all fired up leaving, fired up ending the podcast. And do I really want to do that? Or do we want to end on a nice soothing note, discussing what's good about this defense, so that maybe that could bleed some optimism on our way out? Probably not, though, knowing how we operate. Knowing how this city goes. And speaking of this city, wow, how about the streets? The streets are going crazy. I think change was needed. Just saying. All right, before we dive into this, I need to let you know about my friends at Manscaped. Autumn is in the air, and Manscaped is here to ensure that you don't carve your pumpkins when you're grooming. And by pumpkins, we actually mean your boys downstairs. In fact, Manscaped is on a mission to change the way you approach caring for your balls. And great news, they just released their products in the UK, Canada, and Australia. There is nothing worse than using a standard razor or a different electric razor that's not the Lawnmower 3.0, and you're shaving, you cut yourself, and it's like, damn it, come on, you got a little blood going. You don't need to worry about that with the Lawnmower 3.0 because of the replaceable ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology to reduce grooming accidents. Their new Weed Whacker, their ears and nose hair trimmer, uses the same skin-safe technology. They have a crop care kit, which includes the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, because everyone knows that pumpkin spice lattes and ball deodorant goes hand in hand. They have the Crop Cleanser Body Wash, the Crop Mop Ball Wipes, you name it. And the formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free. Once again, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. You ready to start giving grades? I know I am. F. Nate Gerry. Nate Gerry is an F. You're talking about the worst linebacker in football, arguably the worst linebacker ever in the history of football. I could play linebacker better. You could play linebacker better. When there is a point in time where an opposing quarterback, all opposing quarterbacks combined, is 23 for 23 against you, and your best attribute, in theory, is covering, he's a linebacker that's supposed to be able to cover. That's what he's supposed to excel at. That is his positive. That's his strength. And somehow, some way, he's getting waxed and toasted all over the field. Nate Gerry was a huge issue when he was playing 100% of the snaps. And he was reasons why the team was actually losing games. It was to that degree. When a squad is game planning for the Eagles, it's laughable. They're all literally cracking up, and they can't stop to the point where they are laughing on the ground. LMFAO, literally, they are laughing their fucking asses off when they see Nate Gerry on the screen dissecting film, because they know, hey, let's target this guy. Let's abuse this guy. Let's get a matchup every single damn snap and take advantage of it. And they did. And they were winning the football games all because of it. If you are supposed to be able to cover, and that's supposed to be the best thing you do, and your end result was Nate Gerry and what he provided, you suck. You blow. And Nate Gerry was a monstrous issue to this football team throughout the first handful of weeks. I mean, it was embarrassing. It was a joke. And I know a lot of people got frustrated with Jim Schwartz for playing him, and I'll get to Jim Schwartz. He does get a grade in here, considering he is the top master when it comes to this defense week in and week out. The roster was built this way. The roster was built this way. And yes, you know what? People have come along, made plays, and since Nate Gerry hit that IR, it seems it's going to be a tough time for him to get his job back. So we think, right? So we think, and it better be that way. Don't tell me Nate Gerry's going to come back and start getting some playing time, please, because he deserves zero of it. So yeah, Singleton, TJ Edwards, Duke Riley getting in the mix. It seems that Nate Gerry has lost his chance. But early on in the season, you didn't really have much to work with. And that's kind of what you were handed. And at that point, he was the most experienced player that you had. Like, they obviously went into this season with, hey, we don't give a damn about this position. And it showed, and it was a major hole in their defense. And teams would constantly win because of 47. Seriously. Because of him being so poor and it being so easy from an offensive standpoint, from an opponent's mindset, good luck, Birds. Good luck staying involved. When you can hike the ball every snap and know that you have a matchup that's going to win. In the NFL, knowing that, yeah, you're golden. The play that keeps going in my head over and over and over again is Big Ben seeing what he's got, moving Claypool. Hey, Claypool, let's go. Let's go. Telling people what to do. Stretch the field. Here we go. Bang. Touchdown. Steelers win. Oh, by the way, they're what, 7-0 at this point? Sheesh. I want to be in that position. How do I sign up for that? How do we get the Eagles to be like that? That's my only F. That is my only F. Let's go to the D's. Roby Coleman. I think Roby Coleman has done a very poor job. Now, there has been time where he had to move over to the outside corner position, and that's not who he is. So it's hard to judge him off of playing outside corner because, unfortunately, you are putting an individual in a spot where you know he's going to fail based off of Avonte Maddox being out and not really having much options on the outside. You can't really put Crayvon LeBlanc on the outside. You'll put him in the slot. So then you got to put Roby Coleman out there and hope for the best as a cornerback that's super tiny in this league. But even when he was playing the slot more before the Avonte Maddox injury happened, I was underwhelmed with him. And as the weeks went on, I realized, you know what, there's a reason why he was not with the Rams. There was a reason why he was available. But surrounding the season starting, before the season got going, there was all this speculation about how he was going to be the steal of free agency. How he is such a stud and he's going to make a difference in the slot. And I guess maybe it's my fault for believing the hype, but I felt like it was reasonable to fall into the hype. It wasn't outrageous to think that this guy could truly be a really solid piece for your team. And maybe I'm giving him the D based off of my expectations being so high. But yeah, you know what? I fell into the trap of this guy had success before in the past. He is a veteran. He can be a playmaker in the slot. He can be a guy that shuts down other people's wide receivers when it comes to their slot guys. And he hasn't been that. He's been performing very sloppy, in my opinion. I expected him to be much more of a playmaker for the Eagles defense. And there's times where I'm like, damn, Roby Coleman, what? You made that boneheaded decision? Where were you going? What were you doing there? Were you even attempting to make a tackle? Did you want to make a tackle? Do you feel like throwing the body around? You play defense, yet you don't feel like tackling. Yet you don't feel like staying with your man. Barnett. Barnett's weird because I feel he comes in bunches. There's times where it's like, all right, here we go. All right, Barnett, I see it. And then there's times where it's like, dude, do you do anything out there? And once again, for me, when it comes to Barnett, it comes to the expectations of you were a first-round pick. And I know when you hear the comparison between him and Reggie White at Tennessee, that he's not going to become Reggie White. If you truly believed he was going to be Reggie White, well, then shame on you. But we all knew that this was going to be a big season for Derek Barnett. You could argue that when it comes to the pass rushers, Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat is more effective than Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett. And that's a problem. Do you see how that can be annoying? Do you see how that shouldn't be the case? Like I said, there's times where you look at Derek Barnett and say, oh, okay, there's explosiveness. There was one game this season where that was the best game of his NFL career. And you thought maybe that would be something that would change the page for him. That would allow him to go into a different mindset and be that dog that you anticipated him to be when it comes to Sundays. But he just hasn't been that. He is nowhere near consistent enough. And out of a dude you drafted in the first round to be your pass rusher, he is just your standard average NFL defensive end. And then you would say, well, Brodes, how come he's not a C then? Because that is average, right? A C is an average grade. If he's just your average NFL defensive end, why don't you give him a C? Well, because of where he was drafted. And whether that is fair or not fair, that's how I see it. On top of that, you know this was a big-ass season for him. This is huge. This could lay out the future of where he's going to be in this league. And he comes up with this throughout the 3-4-1 stretch to start the season. Sorry, not going to cut it. Next guy on. Hargrave. This one's a little tough because, Look, we all saw that he was banged up early in the season. He had the pec injury or the shoulder injury. We're like, whoa, hold on a second. He's going to come back from that? When is he going to come back from that? And boom, he gets thrown in there. Boom, here he is. All right, and you figured it would take some time. You don't just come back from an injury and boom, you're at the top of your game instantly. He's been okay. And look, this also comes down to expectations. The dude was a monstrous signing in the offseason. All we could discuss was, wow, hold on, Hargrave next to Fletcher Cox. That would be an issue for teams every single week. Squads are going to have a hard time with Fletch and Hargrave. Has Hargrave really moved the needle to that degree for you yet? A tackle for loss here. Okay, plays there. For what we signed him for, sorry, dude, I'm going to need a lot more production. And I feel at this point, while I'm not pretending like it doesn't matter, the injury early on was something that caused his results to be what they were. But sort of like how I mentioned Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat instead of Barnett, it's the same thing here. Malik Jackson and Fletcher Cox, they've been more conversational than what you have in Hargrave, who we were so pumped about. And I feel that's very reasonable. Once again, we should have been excited because when you look at Hargrave and you look at his skill set and you look at what he can provide, it's more than this. He could be way more of an X factor than this. It would be different if this is who he was, but this is not who he is. He's more of a competitor than this. He can bring way more to the table than this. I need more from Hargrave. So he's sitting at a D in my eyes. And I hate to break it to you, but if you talk about your biggest offseason acquisition, and Darius Slay was, but, you know, that's with the trade and all. You're talking about signing a guy in the offseason. This was your biggest signing. He was. It's not even close. Not even close. And you're getting a D out of him. And think about the contract he signed. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I know this technically isn't defense, but I threw Jake Elliott in the mix. Jake Elliott gets a D. He needs to be better. Inside the 30, yeah, let's miss some field goals, people. Dude, really? Now, a couple of those 50-plus yarders, all right. It is what it is. If you look around the league, yes, you have the kickers that can do it every single damn week. Tucker. That's not Jake Elliott, though. You're going to miss 50-plus yarders here and there. You're not going to be automatic hitting 100%. But what you have gotten out of Jake Elliott, it is nowhere close to being good enough. And he got that payday, and we thought, oh, hold on, Jake Elliott, 60-plus yarder, New York Giants, 2017. You're not getting the production that you got then. And when you start missing 30-yarder, inside 30, it's like, yo, dude, yo! And you got to think, it's a mental thing with him. I wonder how much Doug's aggressiveness plays a role in him. Does he think double guess to himself? Is he overthinking in his brain? Uh-oh, is Doug going for this because he doesn't believe in me? Is he having doubt inside? And once you start having doubt inside as a competitor out there, well, that's no good. If you don't have confidence, especially as a kicker, you are absolutely screwed. Here's the positive. When it comes to kicking, maybe 2 or 3 in a row is the difference on going on some sort of run and knocking down field goals left and right. The alternative, though, is if you miss 2 more in a row. Let's say you start the next week, you come back from the bye, you play the New York Giants, you got a field goal at reasonable distance, 38, doink, hits off the goalpost, uh-oh, you get a second opportunity later on in the game, 42-yarder, misses left, now what? So as strong as hitting 2 in a row can be for the psychological effect of the kicker, what can it be like if it go in the other direction? What if it goes the other way? And you could see a scenario where that happens, right? I mean, you're talking about a field goal that was missed inside the 30. Oh, no. No. Let's move to your average players. And there's a lot of people in the average, the C category. And what does that show you? Well, it shows you when you look at the record of this football team at 3-4-1. Does that kind of make sense? Before we dive into that, though, let's hear about my other friends from DraftKings. DraftKings has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdrawal at your convenience. This deal is outrageous. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. So download the app right now and sign up using promo code BRODES, BRODES. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so I'll run off a couple guys that I think have just been average for you. And some are tough because, well, they've had injuries and they've only played a limited amount of time. But to this point, I think Will Parks has been average for you since he's been out there. Vinny Curry has been average for you. Avonte Maddox, he's just been average for you. He's not an outside guy, so he's getting thrown out there, and that's not his best attribute. So it's like, all right, you got to use him. How harsh can you judge him? He has been injured, so it's only like he has limited time out there on the opposite side of Darius Slay. He's not your long-term option. The Eagles are going to have to make a move at corner, and if I am drafting, that is a high priority when it comes to the draft. I know people are very upset with the linebacker position. I think it's very fair to be, and it's reasonable to expect that this franchise goes out there and acquires some sort of linebacker talent down the road, but also an outside corner, a legitimate outside corner opposite of Slay is mandatory. Avonte Maddox, based off of circumstances, you're throwing him into the fire out there. He should be a slot cornerback. He's getting a C. Now, LeBlanc. I think LeBlanc has had tough moments this year, but this is where the expectation side of things comes in. This dude was picked off the streets. This guy was a nobody working at Foot Locker, and boom, now he's playing NFL football. There's going to be times where he gets beat. There's going to be times where he gets exposed. But is that really his fault? Based off of the circumstances on where you got this guy, what he has provided for you, you look up the positives and you look up the negatives of the plays that Cre'Von LeBlanc has given you, just as a whole, as a player, who he is. The dude was yanked off the street. The fact that he's even sometimes giving you positive play and he can give you snaps in the slot. The problem is when Roby Coleman's playing outside because Avonte Maddox is injured and LeBlanc is getting too many snaps in the slot, that's when he's going to get exposed. He can give you spurts and moments and he can give you limited snaps, but if he's playing too many snaps, that's where the issue is. But this dude is like a nobody coming in and then becoming a guy that can give you help here and there throughout a season. So based off of how you acquired him, what he has given you from a positive standpoint, like there's gonna be negatives involved with a guy like this. I can't be too harsh on Cre'Von LeBlanc, even though there were some tough moments as a whole. I know people like to spit out that Golden Tate catch over the middle, and they were both reaching for it. If you think about the coverage there, I mean, it wasn't miserable coverage, but a veteran NFL receiver in Golden Tate went up and made a hell of a play. And I'm not going to lie to you, he is a hate the face. I can't stand looking at that fool. He bothers me. His face just bothers me, and that stupid smile. And oh God, I want to clock him. But I digress. I'm giving a C for LeBlanc. But I can understand why that could be debatable, why that could be conversational. Fletcher Cox hasn't been horrendous, hasn't been a superstar. He's been okay. He's been all right. He's had moments. He's had flashes. He's had a lot of positives, but he's had some quieter moments as well. I'm just giving Fletcher Cox a C to this point. I expect him to be in the A-B category based off of what he has done throughout his career. Based off of, it's Fletcher Cox, damn it. It's Fletcher Cox. You talk about this defense. When you game plan the Eagles, there are a couple people defensively that you have to be accountable for. You need to recognize them every time they're on the field. Well, it's Brandon Graham, it's Fletcher Cox, and it's Darius Slay. Wait until you hear where Darius Slay is and Brandon Graham is. I'll tell you something for free. It's not where Fletcher Cox is. But he hasn't been horrendous or vomit-worthy. He's just been average. Jalen Mills, I think he's been average. It's tough to go from a whole new position and filling a role like Malcolm Jenkins with the style of play. That's a tough thing to do. And if you ever thought that Jalen Mills would be able to give you Malcolm Jenkins in that role as a whole, well, shame on you. I thought it would be a collective group effort that gave you something similar to Malcolm Jenkins, which just shows you the value in Malcolm from a leadership standpoint, from an on-field standpoint. It's like, yeah, there's going to be three people that makes up for Malcolm Jenkins. Right. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but that's what it kind of was going to be. It was going to have to be a community of safeties that literally did the same thing as Malcolm Jenkins. I thought Jalen Mills has been okay. He's been all right. Is he better at outside corner? There was a moment where he had to put Jalen Mills at outside corner. And then Kayvon Wallace had more opportunities at the safety position. Marcus Epps played more at the safety position. You gave Jalen Mills the outside corner. Once again, that's more of a temporary move, though. When you do that, I'm assessing him in that new safety role, and he's been all right. You need to upgrade there. It's a pluggable piece when you need it, but it's not a long-term option. That should be more of your rotational piece, is a Jalen Mills. Unfortunately, the way that the roster is constructed, he's giving you too many snaps there. This could also be conversational and debatable. I have Alex Singleton, TJ Edwards, and Duke Riley in the C category as well. And some might think that's crazy. Some might think that they should be in that B, especially TJ Edwards, who had a big explosive game when he came back from injury. And even when he got injured, the game that he got injured in, he was a dog, and he was out there running around, making tackles. And you can see the intrigue on TJ Edwards. I'll give you this. To be fair, I'll give you this. They're more in that C-plus category. Singleton and Edwards, more in that C-plus category than just a C- or a C, if that adds any context to this conversation. So they're in that more of an upper echelon of a C. They've had moments. Alex Singleton with the pick six, although, Mullins put it right into his chest, and he had to run it back. But I've seen a lot of linebackers who've played in the city of Philadelphia over the last couple of seasons get hit in the chest. Nigel Bradham a couple times, and boom, you just drop it. So I do got to give you credit for actually making the catch and then running it in. And at that time, I even thought that this was an interesting topic. If that wasn't Alex Singleton, let's say that's a guy like TJ Edwards who caught the football. Are they running it into the house? Maybe not. You had an athlete in Alex Singleton being the one with the speed running to the end zone. I don't know if you're getting a pick six in that scenario, and that could be the difference in getting a touchdown, getting 3 points. Who knows? What if they get stopped and then Carson Wentz throws an interception or there was a fumble on the play? So much could have changed if that wasn't actually a pick six. So I do need to credit him for that. They are moving Nate Gerry down the depth chart, although that shouldn't be hard. All you have to do is be below average to move Nate Gerry down the depth chart because that's how horrendous Nate Gerry has been. I'm intrigued by Singleton. I'm intrigued by Edwards. Riley is what he is. I feel we're fascinated with them, though, because, yes, they haven't been miserable. But that's where we are now at the linebacker position. Just don't be the worst linebacker in the history of football, and we will be excited about it. The bar is so low. They make mistakes still. We're just not as frustrated with them because the alternative is Nate Gary, if that makes sense. I think they've been better than average. C+, better than average. Alex Singleton's a CFL player who was a special teamer, is getting thrown into more of a linebacker role, right? So it's not like these are first-round talents. TJ Edwards, found, great player from Wisconsin. Boom, found them. So it's like the conversation with LeBlanc. Here's a guy who came up off the street. You can't destroy him for not playing like an A because this is who he is. Once again, though, with the linebacker position specifically, the bar is so low. I like these two kids, Edwards, Singleton. Placeholders, though. You're going to have to do more. They aren't winning football. Edwards has more to his game, I feel. Can definitely throw the body. It's more of a, hey, placeholder. But C+, come on. C+ is reasonable. All right, let's get to the B's and A's. By the way, that was a lot of your average players. And I got to factor in Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz has been average this year to this point. The Rams game, he got abused. And I mean abused by Jared Goff and Sean McVay. Jared Goff started the game off, 9 for 9, moving out of the pocket, bootleg, easy money, wide open throws, just casually having to toss it, boom, 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 eyes closed, boom, behind the back, boom, underneath the leg, boom. Doesn't matter. He got out-schemed and abused. Pittsburgh had tough moments. Once again, though, in the Pittsburgh game, I thought a lot of that had to do with personnel issues more so than full-on scheme. The Rams game was full-on scheme. That was lost in the preparation when it comes down to how you get your team going from a scheme standpoint during the week, right? That loss was all on Jim Schwartz. And I expect more out of him because he's a 20-year veteran with a lot of success in this league. And right now, when you look at, and I'm a Jim Schwartz defender, by the way, so the fact that I'm bringing this point up tells you a lot. When you look at the yards and how many yards he has allowed this year, because the Eagles turn the ball over so much, there's so many times where the opposing team has a field that's so short, the yards won't be a lot. So people look at the yards like, look how great it's been. It hasn't been as bad as what everybody's been saying. I don't know if it's been as great as what the yards show you, and that's because, well, when the Eagles turn the ball over, the other team doesn't have a lot of field to work with. When you look at his game plan and how he operates, yeah, you know what? The sticks defense, he plays soft coverage, bend, don't break. A lot of the times the yards will look different than the outcome of the game when it comes to points per game. But that's his style. It's not sexy. It doesn't pop, but it's effective. To this point, I think he's been average. Jim Schwartz, to me, is an above-average defensive coordinator. And when it comes to the defensive coordinator position, everyone's so fascinated with offense, right? The young new guy, the Kyle Shanahan, the Sean McVay. The offense in the NFL is always kind of moving. It's explosive now. It's different. Andy Reid has developed this unbelievable offense. People are trying to duplicate it. When it comes to defensive coordinators, it's not the same. It's not about reinventing this defense and having this special defense like it is with these new young offensive head coaches. Defense is what it is in football. And based off of these offensive people being so new, being so creative, it's even harder to be so good at defense because these minds are so explosive from an offensive mind standpoint. So when you have a guy like Jim Schwartz, what I'm saying here is appreciate it, which is crazy because so many people don't when the results are more times than not there. There's always going to be moments where a coach has a bad game, but if you're better more times than not, especially at a position like defensive coordinator, I don't see where the screaming comes into play every week for the guy. All right, let's get to the B's. Malik Jackson. Malik Jackson has been a difference maker in games. Noticeable, extremely noticeable. At times, the most noticeable defensive tackle on the field. And we didn't really know after the injury, like, okay, what are you going to get out of Malik Jackson? Who is Malik Jackson? What's his personality like on the field? At one point, he was your big signing. And then you didn't really see much of Malik Jackson at all. Well, now you're seeing what a Malik Jackson can do. Been banged up a bit, but when he's ready to rock and roll, he's been successful for this team. He's been a difference maker on that defensive line. So for me, Malik Jackson gets a B. Rodney McLeod. I've been impressed with Rodney McLeod, not just from an on-the-field standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint. I talked about how all these safeties had to step in and fill a void for one special player in Malcolm Jenkins. When it comes to the vocal leader standpoint, Rodney McLeod has been that and more. Because it's not only what he does from a locker room standpoint, from this active voice standpoint, but from a field standpoint as well. He's actually been a very, very solid safety for you. And I liked bringing him back because you needed to. Losing Malcolm, you had to fill that role somehow. I think he has exceeded my expectations, though, with Malcolm off the field being the guy, being more of the guy, having the bigger pie of filling Malcolm Jenkins' role, having a big piece of the pie. Damn, he's done a hell of a job. And the ace. Brandon Graham having a career season. I think a lot of fans speculated or questioned the contract. Is it time? Do you move on? Look at where he's at in his career. Look at his age. Is it time to move on? He knew. I mean, he was hugging media members. We all see his relationship with Derek Gunn and him hugging all one another, and how after every game, like, you counted us out on NBC Sports Philadelphia for the post game. So when it comes to Brandon Graham, I think everyone questioned, was it the right move? The dude has been balling, absolutely balling. And I brought this question up on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN this past week. His value is higher than ever. And at this point in his career, while he has been an explosive guy for you, is there value in maybe moving on from him? No, I'm not talking about this year, obviously. The trade deadline is in effect. But just in general, is there value in moving on from Brandon Graham, considering that this type of season, wow, it can move the needle for other teams looking for a pass rusher, looking for a defensive end, who think they're a defensive end away. Hold on, we'll give up a lot to Philly because this is the piece we need. We need a Brandon Graham. And look at the year he's coming off of. Although I would imagine other teams are thinking the same thing we all were at the time of the signing. Does he still have a lot left? And while this season is great, and he has to keep it up, of course, it could, bang, evaporate with the snap of the fingers as well because of, hey, one injury away or just the nature of the beast of being at this age and having this many seasons in. Just something to think about. That's all. I love Brandon Graham. Love him to death. And the way that he's playing this year, good for him. Because you can see how much he's enjoying it. There was that clip of him and Fletcher Cox, and this was against Washington, I believe, and it was a TikTok. The Eagles made a TikTok of it. He's barking away, barking, screaming, barking, chirping nonstop at the line of scrimmage. It looked like during a TV timeout, Fletch is laughing, shaking his head, saying he ain't going to stop. He's just not going to stop. And he was trying to get Brandon Graham's attention. He wasn't answering. Smacked him across the head. He was like, yo, screaming at him. That's just goofy, man, these do. That was me when I was in my prime of hockey. I wouldn't stop yapping, chirping at everyone. Then I went from wearing a cage to a visor, which means you could fight. And guess what? The yapping went away real quick, because if you keep yapping your mouth, you're going to have to drop the mitts and start punching people. I had one career fight. My nose ended up over here. 2 chopsticks. Had to crack it back into place. Yeah, I got my ass kicked. Last guy, Darius Slay. I know that I get on Darius Slay a bit at times just because I look at him as a very, very good corner in this league. But he's not a corner that people are extremely afraid of. He's not that you do not go to his side type corner, but he's a very, very good corner in this league. And there's a difference. I'm not knocking Slay. This team needs a very, very good corner, and they have that. But if you don't see the difference, like I see the difference. And once again, I'm not ripping the dude. I'm giving him an A. I'm giving him an A. When you look at the receivers that the opponents have week in and week out, Darius Slay, and when he's up against those specific receivers, he does his job, and he does it at an efficient rate. And he's been everything that you could have hoped for when it came to him coming over from the Lions. The problem is he doesn't have much help on the other side, and I think that has to be a major target for this Eagles football team. But go down the list of wide receivers that went up against Darius Slay all season long. The receivers are constantly 20 yards, 25 yards, 30 yards. I think the biggest game against him was against Baltimore. That's about it. And look, there's always going to be those plays where something happens, a little mistake happens here or there. He might get beat once, good, then the yards go up. Like, there's always going to be an outlier to all these players at one point in their career. A slip-up might happen. But he's constantly there. He's consistently your best corner, and he gives the opposing team's wide receivers hell. You got to work. You got to get open. You got to battle. You got to really try hard to get open. You got to give all this energy to be able to work off the line of scrimmage, use your hands, bang, try and get to your spots. Darius Slay makes you work. And when you have to do that snap after snap after snap, yeah, good luck by the third quarter. Good luck by the fourth quarter. You're frustrated. You're not getting the ball. You're not getting the ball because you're not getting open. Your quarterback starts to go, uh-oh, am I going to be able to win this? Now, Big Ben, he wasn't afraid. Like, there's quarterbacks who are not afraid. He was picking on him at one point. Big Ben was. Hall of Fame quarterback. He was like, yeah, hey, go here. I'm about to get you. Boom. Easy. Eyes closed. But from a wide receiver standpoint, going up against Slay, yeah, the irritation comes in. When guys are in your face all night long, you can't get the separation that you got last week because guess what? You weren't going up against Darius Slay. You were going up against someone maybe more like Jalen Mills or Avonte Maddox or Nickel Roby-Coleman on the other side. That's the difference. That's the difference. So a couple guys I couldn't really give grades for, like Craig James, Davion Taylor, Sean Bradley, Epps, although Epps, he stinks. Like Ford, Kayvon Wallace. Couldn't give grades for a couple guys based off of, limited play, really, to this point. So that's what I have for you from the defensive grade standpoint. Can't wait for this Sunday. Can't wait to relax and watch Red Zone, John Hanson. And then we'll attack this Giants week as the week turns. When it hits Monday, boom, here we go. It's Giants week. Did fly by, though, the bye week. It flew by. It definitely helped that Daryl Morey came in the mix. He had some Sixers news, right? So there was something there from a new conversation standpoint to push us through this no football week. Before we head out of here, this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, Orbit is home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, tree removals, electrical upgrades, you name it. If you need to upgrade your home, reach out to Orbit Energy and Power. Their information is down below in the description. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.